GTL. Game time, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So get your gym done, get your tanning done, get your laundry done. Ohio State is at Rutgers. It kicks off at noon, and that is Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. These are the pregame keys on the podcast. Birm, first of all, this is the most like a big-time football atmosphere that I think we've ever felt here at what's now known as SHI Stadium.
Yeah, they had like a carnival going on. They had set up this faux boardwalk out front, kind of really digging into the Jersey vibes, which I'm here for. The drive into the stadium was pretty subdued, pretty calm. But once you get around this area, this is a commuter campus, if you're aware of that. Not a lot of students that live here, so they're going to really get themselves down to the campus area and then start the party. But Rutgers is 6-2. They see this, and the national media is propping it up as a game that is a potential upset alert or a trap game or whatever you want to call it for Ohio State. And Rutgers, I think, is trying to buy into that. So kudos to them. The atmosphere feels good. The weather's going to be perfect. Should be a nice day for football.
Great cover band out there that was cranking through the parking lot. So that was an enjoyable little stroll into the stadium. All right, so that out of the way, let's get straight to the availability report for Ohio State. Denzel Burke is out again. Out of the list, we already know that Lathan Ransom was not going to play today, did not travel with the team. Mayan Williams is out for the season. Joe Royer is out again at tight end, but obviously the headliner is Denzel Burke. And you take out two pieces of Ohio State's starting safety today against Rutgers.
Yeah, if you are looking at a team that you could potentially feel okay replacing two defensive starters in the secondary against, it'd probably be Rutgers. This is not, passing offense is not their bread and butter. They're going to try to do a lot of run game stuff, a lot of option with quarterback Gavin Wimsatt. So I don't know. We didn't hear anything all week that would suggest that Denzel was going to be out for this one. Maybe it's load management. Maybe it's something else. We don't know. Load management in the sense that he maybe could have sat last week but came back, and who knows? Not going to speculate. Bottom line, Ohio State doesn't have him. Another day for Jermaine Matthews to step up. That makes it interesting because of Lathan Ransom being out, because we already expected more Jordan Hancock in the slot today with Sonny Styles moving back. And now you are essentially saying to Jermaine Matthews, this is your day, that you and Davis and Igbenogson go get it. So big day for the freshman.
Yeah, well, they could also piece some things together if they want. We saw Cameron Martinez working back last week from the injury. Yeah, he gave up the 3rd and 13, hadn't played in at least a month, I believe.
I don't think he played since Indiana.
With the hamstring injury. So that, some rust, but if you're shorthanded, it's easy to forget sometimes that we spent all spring talking about Cameron Martinez starting in the nickel spot and working in the slot. Like, this is a game where he can show up in that role. We'll see. He's had some success here before, right? So that's an opportunity for him, or against Rutgers at least. Maybe was it here as well? Did he get a pick in this?
No, he had a pick 6 against Rutgers in 2020.
And then the fake punt, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that could be an option. Jair Brown is back for Ohio State. So when Jim Knowles has talked about other corners who can potentially play in the nickel, we've talked about Jair Brown there as well. So we'll see what transpires, but that's certainly one to watch for Ohio State, because those are two starters and two really key pieces. So offense, Emeka Egbuka is a go, Travion Henderson is a go. Pretty close to full strength, it looks like, although there are still some of the nagging issues we saw with Cade Stover and Julian Fleming a week ago. We'll see how those guys respond from that week, and of course Kyle McCord's ankle. So that's the health report for Ohio State, getting ready on the keys. Now Berm's got some keys.
I mean, I've talked about it all week. It's just about Kyle McCord coming out of the gate early and not having to shake off a bunch of rust that he suffered because of that ankle injury or feeling tentative. Just coming out and being aggressive with the football, but being smart with the football, not taking those chances that cost you possessions in a game like this. Rutgers' defense is pretty good. It's still not as talented as Ohio State to the point where they should be matching the Buckeyes possession for possession. So you just can't give them any. So Kyle McCord, to me, it's just no turnovers today for him. No sack fumbles, no standing in the pocket and getting it stripped out of your hand while you're not paying attention. No dumb interceptions. Just keep the ball in your team's hands, and the Buckeyes will win this game fairly easily.
Sometimes we see Ohio State get into these games and they button it up. They start to think, maybe keep some things hidden for the end of November. And I don't really want to see that. I think Ohio State needs to keep installing the full offense with, again, it's 2 months into the season, so people are probably sick of hearing about them being 3 first-time starters on the offensive line, and Kyle McCord being a first-year starter, but it's still true. And 8 games is not enough to necessarily be a finished product. So if you think that a lot of this orbit motion stuff with Xavier Johnson or now with Emeka Egbuka back is important to the overall offense and finding more balance for the rushing attack, do that against Rutgers. You still have to take shots. You still have to find ways to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved. Don't think just because you should or could be able to line up and win running straight at Rutgers that's the best way forward. I don't think it is. My key would be to just keep fine-tuning the entire package.
Yeah, especially against a team like Rutgers that you know is going to come out here and try a bunch of crazy stuff. I mean, this is what Greg Schiano does against anyone. He does it seemingly at a higher clip against Ohio State. So that's key number 2 for me, is just being prepared for the things you can't prepare for. Making sure that eye discipline is correct. I mean, we've seen early in the middle part of this season where Steel Chambers and the linebackers had some problem with that, and not maybe paying attention or going to the right spot. Rutgers is going to certainly try to key on that with Wimsatt again as a running quarterback. So you're going to need to really be disciplined defensively, which is the challenge again when you're playing without 2 of your veterans. How do the guys that haven't played a lot of football, the Jermaine Matthews is, Jair Brown if it's him, Cam Martinez if it's him, Sonny Styles, who's played a lot but not in that deep safety role. Like, how do you end up staying disciplined and going to where the ball is and not getting yourself tricked up by what Rutgers and Greg Schiano are going to try to do? So just be on alert for the weirdness.
Yeah, and not just the eye discipline, that's part of it. Rutgers is going to have some option looks. They're going to do different things with Gavin Wimsatt and the rushing quarterback. Ohio State hasn't necessarily seen a ton of that since Indiana. They weren't prepared for it in week 1, but they adjusted really quickly. And the best way to do that is not just by reading your keys and reading and reacting, but you finish the tackle when you get there. Don't let them pick up extra yards and be in a situation where they could have been in 3rd and 6 and now it's 3rd and 3. Sure-handed tackling, arriving with toughness. The Buckeyes have been pretty good at that throughout the year. You can knock on wood. It's something that you have to continue to do and show up every week. But this has not been a team that has missed a ton of tackles or put itself in bad situations. Certainly not recently, and not against teams that are trying to run the ball and control time possession the way that Rutgers will be. So it's not easy, but that's the assignment every single week. And so guys like that next level, I think Cody Simon will play a fair amount of Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg. That second level is going to be critical because you'd want to force Rutgers to play behind the sticks a little bit, because if they have to throw, there's no statistical evidence, no tape that tells you they should be able to do that, even with a banged up Ohio State secondary.
Yeah, and for me, final key is it sort of ties in with the first one about Kyle McCord, but this is specifically for the Joshes. You've got to not allow yourself to get beat on the edges and put Kyle McCord into a position where he is hurrying himself up in the pocket. Kyle McCord needs to be able to be comfortable, settle in, and find the receivers and find the backs without having to panic about the fact that an edge rusher is coming around Josh Fryer or Josh Simmons. So the defensive front of Rutgers is not particularly stout, but you know Greg Schiano is going to have a lot of blitzes and do a lot of different stuff defensively. Ohio State's Donovan Jackson and Matthew Jones have not given up a sack yet this season. Carson Hinsman's been up and down, but he's been fairly good in the pass pro. The issue in the last couple weeks has been when there are 2 blitzers from one side, the offensive lineman not being able to hold that guy off long enough and Kyle McCord not stepping up into the pocket to deliver the ball. It works in tandem, but it really starts with Josh Fryer and Josh Simmons making sure that they're at least getting hands on people. At least hands.
Hands? Hands on people?
Hands on people. HOPs.
HOPs. All right. Getting D-hop? D-hop. Focus. Now, you had a whole week of preparation. Everything has been swirling in the air about the rival, and then you know that once you get to November, that game is getting closer. Anybody, it's human nature to look at the schedule and be like, well, you've already crossed off Notre Dame, you beat Penn State. Ohio State is now into the final month, and it's Rutgers, Michigan State, and Minnesota. It is human nature. I'm not saying the trap game word that you mentioned at the start, but how focused was this program? To me, it looked like they were locked in. We don't spend every second in there, so we don't know. Are they going to come in this morning kind of, laughing and smiling about what happened with Connor Stallions being fired and what may or may not happen with Jim Harbaugh? So, you got to make sure that you just have to make sure that all of that is out of your head, because they've got phones. They want to probably have some time where they're going to laugh and make jokes. And they could have been afforded maybe some time to do that when they had moments of levity at the team hotel on Friday night. But this is Saturday afternoon, and it's on the road against a Big Ten opponent that all of them turn Ohio State into their Super Bowl. But again, this atmosphere seems like it's pretty good. Rutgers is already bowl eligible. They have a good defense. Even though the spread is 18.5, 19, you cannot take anything for granted. So set the rest aside, handle business against Rutgers, get home with a win, get healthy, and then you have one more step towards what you're trying to accomplish.
Bottom line, whatever happening in Ann Arbor doesn't affect Ohio State. Ohio State's job is Ohio State's job, and they're still going to have to go to Ann Arbor on November 25th and beat Michigan. And if that's your goal, you can't trip up here. You can't trip up against Michigan State or Minnesota at home. So lock it in and worry about that stuff later.
Also, aside from the atmosphere, this is about the most beautiful November day you can get for Big Ten football ever. It's really nice here. There's no wind blowing at the moment. There's nothing coming out of the sky. It's going to get up into around 55, maybe close to 60. You can't ask for more.
This is what I look for every single week. 57, 58, maybe 60, partly sunny, no wind. Better for photos, better for my personal sanity, better for everyone. So whoever's up there, thanks.
Shout out to you. And shout out to you all for watching the pregame keys on a Saturday morning to get ready for Ohio State at Rutgers, noon on CBS. Denzel Burke out, that's the big one. And then we'll see what else transpires for Ohio State in about 2 hours at kickoff time. Thanks again for joining us. He is Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. We'll talk to you all after the game. Enjoy.